They stole my dream cruise, used my own credit card, and left me behind like I was nothing. For weeks I believed them. Too expensive, maybe next year, they said, while they packed their suitcases in secret. Then a photo popped up on my phone, my granddaughter grinning on the deck of a ship I paid for. That's when the knife twisted. I opened my bank account and the truth hit me: $21,000 in charges. Spa treatments, jewelry, casino chips, all mine to pay. They thought I was too old to notice, too weak to act, but I wasn't dead yet. So I waited, let them gorge on my generosity. Let the bills swell until they were trapped at sea with no escape. When I finally made the call, their lifeline was cut. On that grand ship in front of strangers, their perfect vacation turned into humiliation. And when the desperate call came, "Mom, help us, we're ruined," I gave them the only answer they deserved: silence.
Eleanor, thank you for being here and sharing your story with us.
Sure.
They stole my dream cruise. Worse, they used my credit card to pay for it. I wasn't invited, not even considered. I was written off like I didn't exist. But they forgot one thing: I wasn't dead yet, and I still knew how to fight back. My name is Eleanor Hayes, 72 years old, widow for almost a decade. I taught high school English for 35 years before retiring. People used to call me the steady hand because I was never rattled, never panicked. I got through budget cuts, wild teenagers, and the loss of my husband Henry with my head held high. My savings aren't endless, but I worked my whole life to keep myself comfortable. That was my sacrifice: 35 years of early mornings, red-inked essays, and after-school tutoring. That money was supposed to give me peace in my old age, not bankroll my son's selfish getaway. The idea of a family cruise had been with me for years. I pictured the whole clan together: my son Martin, his wife Claire, and their 2 children, Noah and Lily. I wanted one memory for us all, something bright to hold on to in the years when my health would fail. Henry and I had once planned such a trip back when he was still alive. A 7-day voyage through the Caribbean, white beaches, warm sunsets, a chance to breathe together away from work, school, bills, and stress. When Henry died suddenly of a heart attack at 63, the plan died with him, but the dream stayed. So I started saving. I put aside part of my pension carefully every month. I clipped coupons and cut back on eating out. By the time Martin turned 45, I had nearly $18,000 set aside, more than enough to take 4, maybe even 5 of us on a fine cruise. I imagined standing on deck, Noah's hand in mine, Lily's laughter in the wind, Martin smiling at me with gratitude. That's what I thought I'd be buying. Family, love, memory. Martin had always been a good boy, at least I told myself that. He worked in real estate, though never quite as successful as he wanted the world to believe. His wife Claire was ambitious, I'll use that word. Social media posts, fancy handbags, expensive brunches. She wanted the life of someone with a 6-figure salary, even when Martin barely managed commissions. I overlooked it. Families are messy. You pick your battles. About 5 years back, after a fall that left me shaken, I added Martin as an authorized user on one of my credit cards. Just in case, I told him. Emergencies only. If I'm in the hospital, if the car breaks down while you're driving me, only then. He nodded, solemn. I believed him. That little piece of plastic stayed in his wallet for years, barely touched, until Claire found a way to turn it into her golden ticket. It began innocently enough. I showed them glossy cruise brochures when they visited. Look at this one, I'd say, my finger tapping the pictures. 7 nights. Stops in San Juan, St. Kitts, Barbados. We could all go, my treat. Martin would light up. Moms, that would be amazing. For a second, he'd look like my little boy again. But Claire would purse her lips, tilt her head like she was being polite to a child. Eleanor, cruises can be very tiring, and the right line matters. Some are, well, tacky. We'd need one with real quality, not buffet lines and crowded pools. I brushed it off. She had always been a bit snobbish. What mattered was the dream, my family together. Then came the pitch. One Sunday, as I served roast chicken, Martin leaned forward. Mom, you know your card has great rewards, right? If we book the cruise on it, we'd get a ton of points. I just pay you back. It's smarter financially. I hesitated. $12,000 to $15,000 is no small charge. My generation doesn't put that kind of money on credit, but he spoke with such confidence. You'll earn cash back. You'll come out ahead, he promised. Claire nodded beside him, her eyes gleaming with calculation. I gave in, all right, but only if it's for all of us. That's the deal. Martin smiled. Of course, Mom, for all of us. That was the last time I trusted his word. In the weeks that followed, I kept asking about dates. Have you booked it yet? Do I need to get my passport renewed? Oh, still looking at options, Martin would say. Claire always added, we just want the best, be patient. Then one afternoon, Claire called me. Her voice was sugar-laced with venom. Eleanor, we've been thinking, cruises have a lot of strenuous activities. Long walks, uneven steps, heat. We don't want you exhausted or uncomfortable. It might not be right for you. I sat in silence, the phone pressed against my ear. My dream trip, rebranded as too much for me. She continued, we'll plan something more age-appropriate, maybe a nice family dinner. The message was clear, I was uninvited. I swallowed my hurt like I had so many times before. I even texted Martin that night, don't worry about me. Just remember the emergency card is in your wallet if you ever need it. Love, Mom. It was the kind of foolish, soft-hearted gesture that mothers make, and that sons with weak spines exploit. For weeks, I thought the trip had been canceled. Postponed, Martin said. Too expensive right now. I believed him. I busied myself with gardening, book club, visits with old friends. Life went on. Until one ordinary Tuesday morning when my granddaughter Lily sent me a picture. She was grinning ear to ear, standing on the deck of a massive ship, turquoise water stretching behind her. The caption read, Caribbean sunsets are the best. Wish you were here, Grandma. The Caribbean. I sat frozen, the phone trembling in my hands. Wish you were here. I went straight to my computer. I hadn't logged into my online banking in months. My hands shook so badly I mistyped the password twice. When I finally got in, the screen lit up with a list of charges that made my stomach twist. $14,982, Ocean Star Cruises. $325, onboard spa. $480, jewelry boutique, St. Lucia. $212, premium cocktail bar. $650, dolphin swim excursion. Line after line, thousands drained, all on my card, all without my consent. My son, my flesh and blood. He had booked the trip after all, booked it for 4, not 5, not me. He had stood in my kitchen, eaten my roast chicken, looked me in the eye and lied. I pressed my palms flat against the desk to steady myself. The betrayal was physical, like a knife slid between my ribs. The boy I raised, the one I worked double shifts for, the one I fed when I sometimes went without, had stolen from me. Not just money. He had stolen my dream, my dignity, my trust. For a long time, I sat in silence, then something inside me shifted. The tears stopped. The ache in my chest turned to something sharp, cold, unyielding. They thought I was too old to notice, too weak to act. They thought wrong. I pulled out a notebook and began writing. Every charge, every date, every detail. My years of grading essays, tallying test scores, and keeping meticulous records came back to me. Line after line, I built my case. I wasn't just a betrayed mother, I was a strategist. They had left me behind, but they had tethered themselves to me in one fatal way. Every drink, every souvenir, every sunset toast on that ship was charged to my account, and with one phone call, I could cut the cord. I decided then I would not strike right away. No, I would wait. Let them gorge themselves on my generosity. Let them build a tower of indulgence so high the fall would crush them. My revenge would not be loud. It would be surgical. And when it came, they would feel it not as a slap, but as a drowning wave. That night, I brewed a cup of chamomile tea, sat in my quiet kitchen, and smiled for the first time in weeks. They had left me off the family cruise, but I was about to captain their fate. I didn't sleep much that night, not from grief anymore, but from planning. I sat at my kitchen table with my notebook, my pen scratching across the paper. Every charge, every date, every dollar. A teacher's ledger turned into a weapon. When Henry was alive, he used to tell me, Ellie, you always think 3 steps ahead. That's why you win. I heard his voice in my head now. Calm, steady, proud, and I knew I would not rush this. I would bide my time. They were at sea. I knew the rhythm of cruise ships. I had studied the brochures for years. Onboard charges went straight to the card tied to the stateroom. Everything, souvenirs, wine, excursions, was swept together into one glorious bill, a bill that lived and breathed on my account. If I cut the card now, they might scramble through. Use another card. Call me, beg, wheedle, lie, no, that wasn't good enough. I wanted the cut to land when they were at their most vulnerable, when the whole ship could see their downfall. So I pulled up the itinerary. The Ocean Star Cruise, 7 nights, 4 ports. San Juan, St. Kitts, Barbados, St. Lucia, sea days in between. They were mid-voyage already, judging by Lily's photo. That meant they still had days of spending ahead. Perfect. I chose my strike, the second to last night, a formal dinner at sea. No ports left, no ATMs, no backup. Just them, trapped in their floating palace with no way out. That's when I'd pull the rug. Until then, I waited. It's a strange thing, waiting for revenge. My mornings passed quietly, coffee on the porch, watering the hydrangeas, chatting with Mrs. Dalton next door. Outwardly, I was the same old Alina, but inside, I was electric. Focused. Every ping of my phone with a new charge was proof of their arrogance, proof of how far they were digging their own grave. $198, wine tasting. $475, designer sunglasses. $820, casino chips. The numbers climbed. My jaw tightened, but my smile grew. Let them. Every dollar was a rope tightening around their necks. On the third day of watching, I received another photo from Lily. This time, she was in front of a dolphin pool, grinning, her hair slick with salt water. Dad says you're too sick to travel, Grandma. I hope you're resting. Too sick. That lie burned hotter than the charges. I'd walked 3 miles just last week. My knees ache, yes, but I'm no invalid. They had painted me as frail to my grandchildren, erased me from the story. That, more than the money, was unforgivable. By Friday, the second to last day, their total spending had crossed $21,000, nearly half my savings. They weren't just greedy, they were reckless. They thought my trust was endless. That afternoon, I made the call. Cardholder Services, this is Daniel. How can I help you today? Hello, Daniel, I said, my voice steady calm. My name is Alina Hayes. I need to report fraud on my account. The words tasted sharp like steel. I gave him the dates, the charges, the cruise line booking. He was sympathetic. We'll freeze the card immediately, Mrs. Hayes. A new one will be shipped to you overnight. Thank you, I said. Please note that my son, Martin Hayes, was an authorized user. He is no longer to have access. Understood. And just like that, the cord was cut. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, breathing slowly. It was done. The trap was set. Out on the ocean, my family still believed they were untouchable, sipping cocktails, dressed for dinner. They didn't know their lifeline had been severed. Not yet. I imagined the scene. Claire strutting into a boutique, plucking another handbag from the shelf. The clerk swiping her room card once, twice. Declined, that tight smile turning into a frown. Claire's cheeks flushing crimson, or Martin at the casino table, laying down chips only to have the dealer pause. Sir, your account has been locked. The murmurs from the crowd, the embarrassment. But the true climax, I knew, would come at the captain's dinner. Claire would be in her gown, Martin in his suit, ready to order the most expensive wine. And then, humiliation. Public, I savored the thought. I didn't wait long. The next morning, my phone rang. A strange number, long and unfamiliar. A satellite connection. I let it buzz 3 times before answering. Hello. Mom, it was Martin's voice, high and frantic. Oh, thank God. Mom, something's wrong. The card, it's frozen. We can't charge anything. They've locked our room account. We're being treated like criminals here. I sipped my coffee. Oh dear, that sounds difficult. Difficult? His voice cracked. We can't even buy water. The purser says we owe $21,000 and have no way to pay. You need to call the bank. Tell them it's fine. Tell them it's a mistake. A mistake, I repeated softly. Interesting word. Remind me, Martin, what was the emergency that required using my credit card? Silence, then a stammer. Mom, it wasn't like that. We were going to pay you back. It was just easier this way. You don't understand, Claire thought. Oh, I understand perfectly. I cut in, my voice sharpened. You lied to me. You told me the trip was postponed. You told your children I was too sick to travel. You took the card I gave you for emergencies and used it to erase me from my own dream. That is not a mistake. That is theft. I could hear Claire in the background, her voice shrill, panicked. What did she say? Ask her again. Martin's tone cracked. Mom, please, we can't get off the ship. We have no money. We'll be ruined. I let the silence stretch before I said, calm and cool, ruined is what you made me feel when I saw those charges. Ruined is what I felt when my granddaughter told me I was too sick to be wanted. Now it's your turn to sit in that feeling. Figure it out. You're clever, remember? Always said you were smarter with money than me. Prove it. Mom. Click, I ended the call. I sat back in my chair, my heart pounding, but not from fear, from power. For the first time in years, I felt steady again, in control. They had underestimated me, and now, on a ship in the middle of the Caribbean, they were paying for it. The rest of that day passed in peace for me. I gardened, I read, I brewed another pot of tea. But in my mind's eye, I replayed the chaos unfolding thousands of miles away. Martin pacing their cabin, Claire crying, then screaming. The children confused, embarrassed. The purser demanding payment they didn't have. Every moment of their humiliation was a balm to the wound they'd left in me. By evening, I received the inevitable email from the bank. Confirmation of fraud, confirmation of the freeze. Declined charges listed one after another. Bar, boutique, spa, each one proof. Proof that I was no fool. Proof that they were caught. That night, I slept soundly. For the first time in years. Hard, the morning after I hung up on Martin, the house was still. Sunlight poured across my kitchen table, catching the neat rows of notes in my ledger. Every charge, every call, every detail. For years, I had been ignored, talked over, written out. Now, every mark on that paper was proof I hadn't lost my sharpness. Proof I was not the helpless old woman they wanted me to be. I poured myself a cup of tea and smiled. They were still out there, trapped on that ship. Still owing $21,000 they couldn't pay, still humiliated in front of strangers. And I was here, calm, safe, steady. The power had shifted. By late afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Another long satellite number. I didn't answer this time. Let them spend a few more desperate dollars trying to reach me. Let the panic chew at them. I imagined Martin's hands shaking, Claire's mascara streaking down her cheeks, the children asking questions they couldn't answer. I thought of little Lily, sweet girl. She didn't deserve this. But she also deserved the truth that her grandmother wasn't too sick to travel, too weak to matter. One day she would understand why I had done this, why I had drawn the line. 2 days later, when their ship docked, the calls stopped. They must have found some way to pay the cruise line, maybe borrowing from Claire's parents, maybe signing some humiliating note of debt. Either way, they had walked off that ship exposed, and I felt no guilt, only a clean, fierce satisfaction. A week later, the call I had been waiting for finally came. Mrs. Hayes, the voice was professional, courteous. This is Alan Morrison from Ocean Star Cruises. I'm part of the guest relations and security team. Do you have a moment? I do, I said evenly. We've concluded our internal review of the fraud report on your account, he explained. We want to first apologize sincerely for the distress this has caused you. We take elder financial abuse extremely seriously. Our records show that your card was used by your authorized user, Martin Hayes, to book the cruise and make significant onboard charges without your consent. We've also received a detailed report from our purser about your son's conduct when the account was frozen. It was concerning. I let the silence stretch. Yes, it was concerning. Alan cleared his throat. As a result, we are refunding the full cost of the booking, $14,982, back to your account. Additionally, as a gesture of goodwill, we'd like to offer you a complimentary 7-night cruise for 2 in one of our premium suites. Any voyage, any destination, valid within the next 2 years. No charge to you. I sat very still. A cruise for me. Yes, ma'am, for you. We'd be honored to give you the experience you were denied. For the first time in weeks, my throat tightened, not with grief, but with something lighter. Relief, gratitude, vindication. Thank you, I whispered. When I hung up, I pressed my hand flat against the table and closed my eyes. I saw Henry's face, smiling at me. I felt the steady strength I thought I had lost return. They had tried to erase me. Instead, I had reclaimed everything. The weeks after their return were quiet. Martin didn't come by. Claire didn't call. I heard from a neighbor that they'd sold their second car to cover some of the debt. that Claire had stopped posting her glittering pictures online. Their perfect facade had cracked, and I didn't need to say a word. When Martin finally appeared at my door, he looked smaller somehow, shoulders slumped, eyes tired. He stood there, shifting from foot to foot before finally speaking. "Mom, we need to talk." I let him stand on the porch while I stayed inside. I wasn't cruel, but I wasn't soft either. "You lied to me, Martin," I said simply. "You stole from me, you humiliated me." He flinched like each word was a lash. "I know, Claire said it would work out. I thought I could pay you back, I thought." "You thought I wouldn't notice," I cut him off. "You thought I was too old, too stupid. That was your mistake." He swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." I studied him. My son, 50 years old, looking like a boy caught cheating on a test. Part of me wanted to forgive, but forgiveness without change is just permission. "I accept your apology," I said. "But trust, that's gone. You will not have access to my accounts again. You will not take my kindness for granted again. If you want a relationship with me, it will be built on honesty from here on out. Nothing less." He nodded, shame in his eyes. "I understand." I closed the door gently. For once, I wasn't left with a hollow ache. I was left with peace. 3 months later, I boarded a ship of my own. Ocean Star had kept their promise. A suite with a balcony, champagne waiting on the table. The turquoise sea stretched out before me, warm wind against my face. I brought along my sister Margaret, a woman who had always stood by me, never once made me feel unwanted. We stood at the railing, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and gold. I thought of the brochures I had tucked away years ago, the dream Henry and I once held, and I realized I was living it now. Not the way I planned, not with the people I first imagined, but perhaps that was the point. Dreams don't die when people betray you. They wait. They wait until you're ready to claim them for yourself. I raised my glass of tea, yes, tea, not champagne, and whispered to justice, to peace. Margaret clinked her glass against mine, and to never underestimating you, Ellie. We laughed, the sound carried away by the wind. And in that moment, I knew. The legacy I would leave wasn't of being the mother who was stolen from, but of being the woman who refused to be erased. They had left me off their cruise, but I had ruined theirs, and in the end, I had sailed further than they ever could.